Hi, I'm Michael Allison. I'm the Commercial Director at Roma Finance, and welcome to another edition of RomaTalks, where I meet people from across the world of property investing. And today I'm delighted to be joined by the multiple award-winning Manni Chopra.
Hi, Michael. Thanks
Hi.
for having me, Roma and Michael.
Absolutely. Listen, the pleasure's all ours. So obviously a big intro there with your multiple awards. But before we even talk about those, I'm sure what everybody would like to know is tell us a bit about yourself and your journey so far.
Right. So where do I start? Born and brought up in Mumbai, India. Emigrated to the UK in 1996. Got married to a guy called Manni Chopra, hence the name. So it was a introductory marriage, but if you want to call it arranged marriage, we did have a choice. We weren't just, having a gun to our head and said you had to get married. But came here in my early 20s, kind of didn't know what I was doing. I did have a degree back home, but it wasn't qualified enough to have a degree here. So I actually then got a degree here. I went to Brunel University, got a degree, did a job in IT, I did an IT degree. And that was like 10 years of kind of not knowing what I'm doing. It was, fun places, had a lot of projects. I was working for a consultancy, IT consultancy, so I'd got to different sites and everything. And then I had two beautiful kids, and I thought, this is not going great because, IT, as you know, is deadline orientated. They wanted more and more of me with not much enough money. And I was like, no money, no time, this is not going anywhere. And I thought, 2010, I put my foot down. Kids were quite young then, and I thought, look, I'm not winning, and something's going to give. And I thought, let's just do property. That's how I just started it. It's this whole Asian mentality of buy more property, it'll make you money. You're looking at the top 100 list. Everyone's got property on their portfolio. And I thought, well, what can go wrong? Let's just get this going.
And just went for it. And what's interesting there, you talk about your career being obviously IT. What we see is we see a lot of people from the world of probably high-end professionals in other fields who have that aptitude to be able to move into property because of that whole good head for numbers, project management, crisis management, I think is the big one.
Absolutely. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was running a team of 27 analysts when I left and moved to property. So that was the bit I missed, that whole sort of coming into this room by yourself and being this, your own boss sort of a thing. But yeah, nevertheless, it took off at some point, yeah.
So what was the first one? What got you started?
I'd say the first one was a HMO. My target was, because I took a sabbatical from work in 2010.
Nice and easy then, straight in.
Straight in. Took a sabbatical. I'm not coming back was what I said to myself in my head. And my target was I want to make about £3,000 a month net, which will then replace my income from my job, and then I don't have to look back. So I kind of met 3/4 of my target. My first deal was in Bracknell, which is in the southeast. It had a lot of employment there and not much in terms of shared housing and accommodation. I thought, look, this sounds like a really good place to start off with. About 20 minutes, half an hour from home, kind of worked really well. And I bought actually something which was against the whole sort of golden rule of investing. So I didn't buy something that needed work doing to it. I didn't buy something where you could pull your money out and go again. But what it did do was give me £2,000 a month net income. So it kind of met what I wanted to do at that point in time. And without doing much work to it, it was 6-bed HMO. And, it was a great little starter project. So
your first investment was really, it was the income stream, which enabled you not to have to go back into employment.
Yeah.
And take a bit of the destiny in your own hands, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the first one that you really learned from then?
The first thing I learned from that project was a cash flow is king. It's important to maximize every inch. So we sort of took on what we had, but we maximized every inch space and we made it into a 6-bed HMO without doing any external works to it, no planning required, just went straight into it. And straight from completing it, within 20 days, I had it up and running, tenants in.
Was there a moment in that first transaction? So obviously you've made this bold decision. You said, you know what, enough's enough. I want to have a bit better lifestyle balance, and I want to keep that income coming out. I want to, in fact, earn more. Was there a moment, were you nervous? Did any nerves kick in? Was there imposter syndrome? Or because you're obviously here today, you're so confident and well known. Is that how you went straight into it with that bigger confidence that you've got now?
I think I had more to lose if I didn't do it. I think that's probably what made me just do it. I think if you're pushed, if your back's against the wall, you just do it. You don't think of what would go wrong. And I guess business is in my blood. My dad was a businessman through and through, and I think I didn't know this, but I think it just came naturally to me.
So it's those things that you've probably seen or been around all your life. And
But didn't know it was in me. In me.
it turns out that was the skill set that was inside that, and computers, obviously, IT as well.
Questionable.
Questionable. I bet it's better than mine. Don't worry about that. So from there, then, how many transactions have you done since then? And
I think I've done over 25, 30 deals.
wow.
Most of them we've tend to kept, but we've also sold a few along the way. So I think around 25, 30. I haven't counted exactly to the one.
No, it's fine. And when you're appraising an opportunity, because you must obviously get offered quite a lot of opportunities because of your reputation as well. What is it that you're looking for in a transaction?
I think it's changed over a period of time. At the time it was cash flow.
Yeah.
Then I went through a period where I wanted to take on more assets and build this legacy and what have you. But things have changed again. Now it's, I've got a lot of assets. And as you know, in the property world, profits are being squeezed, where although rents are going up ever so slightly. The costs have gone up, mortgages, compliance, regulations. So I think I'm back again where I feel I'm back to my cash flow strategy again. So I'm going to kind of change. I think property is changing all the time. I mean, you can't just use one strategy and think that's going to be there forever and that's going to work forever. I think you've just got to change with the economy, where the market is. A lot's happened since 2010. And I've had to change it multiple times to sort of adjust my portfolio, tweak it to where I want to be at that point in time.
Show that real agility, I guess, to know where the market's going. And a lot of that comes through experience and
knowledge, staying on top of, other people's podcasts. Everything's on our fingertips now, right? Spotify and Audible, and just really keeping your finger on the pulse.
And obviously in 2010, when you moved into it, there was a very buoyant of people moving it back into property again after the financial
credit crunch, 2008. In fact, there wasn't that many people. People had been seriously burnt. So it was actually quite a good time to go in, although I was like, why now? However, I think it actually gave me access to good deals because there wasn't much funding available. And prior to my first deal really here, to be fair, what we had done is we'd made quite a lot of money from a property we had bought in Mumbai. That's how I used that pot to actually fund my first 2 HMOs here. I've invested in like an off plan, which funnily enough, everyone says don't ever do that. Spent 50 grand buying an off plan development in the south of Mumbai, and that more than quadrupled a few years later. And that's what we did. We sold that and then brought the money back and used that for our first couple of deals.
And how have you found it operating as a landlord over the last 14 years? You've mentioned that the landscape's changed a lot. Yeah. Certainly it feels in the last 3 or 4 years, it's really been one bad news story after another sometimes.
Yeah.
How's that tested your resolve as a renowned?
Yeah, to the best of me, I am actually a very, very positive person, but I kind of feel a little bit worn down in the last few months or so. But I think listening to the negative rhetoric, I think you need to move on and think of what's positive in the government. But I think regulations they've gone a bit crazy. I think the government has with over-regulating the sector. And I don't understand how they don't know that this is actually not helping or it's not going to help. I think they seem to have a personal vendetta against landlords for some reason. They might have had some personal bad experiences. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be like literally very, very negative about the whole.
Well, you'd think we don't have enough homes, and we've got people who are looking to provide homes. Absolutely. And quality homes, as you've proven yourself with the awards that you've won, and quality homes which enables people then to have somewhere to live and opens up that structure rather than just say we need to build 1.5 million. There's still, I think there was an interesting thing on the UK property network this week about empty properties. The volume of empty properties in the UK that could be repurposed, and I think you are right. It sort of doesn't feel.
It doesn't match up, does it? But there seems to be some personal reason why they're going for it in a big way. Whether I don't really know what's behind all this negativity, really. But I think there needs to be some sort of balance and fairness in the whole thing, which is not there right now.
And how have you found it? Has it evolved? It's obviously 2010 when you stepped into the market. It was probably still is, to want a better word, very male-dominated industry, property trading. but you've stood out there as a pioneering female, and there are more of them. We had Hayley join us the other week who told us her story. Have you found that attitudes have changed to women in property at all?
100%. I mean, as you know, I run the Titans event. And we've definitely, I think the women contingency, definitely many more women who are winning, and they're really going for it, actually, I think,
You mentioned the Titans event there that obviously Roma are proud to be a partner of. Why don't you tell us a bit more about what the Titans event is?
Sure. I mean, property was very lonely, as I said to you, coming from an IT job, being part of big teams, running teams. Came into this office room, obviously did a lot of education, did a lot of courses, and then eventually you're still on your own, right? Trying to work it all out and trying to, figure out what's the next best thing for you. I thought it's very lonely where I am. Let's just start off something. So in 2016, I started off in Slough. I didn't want to call it the Slough Property Meet because it's got such a bad reputation. So I called it a very obscure name, even more obscure than Slough, J6 Property Meet. It was just the Junction 6 of the M4. Right. I had some idea from some other BNI meeting. And that sort of kicked off from about 10 people in the room, built it up slowly to about 30, 40. And now Titans, there's almost 90, 100 people in the room every single month. So, really humbled about it. I think it's a great group of investors, and we've got a lot of experience in the room. So really, really humbled by it, but very grateful for it because it's not just a networking event. It's more like a family. We've got really close friends in the community. We kind of, go out, we have fun together. It's like literally an extended family system, really.
I was speaking to Jay Howard from Hamad Auctions the other week when we met. And interestingly, he said that they did something similar at Hamad. They almost had a Christmas do because when you are a property entrepreneur, nobody's there to congratulate you on a deal well done. And actually, there's no Christmas do. There's no let's reflect on the year and get ready for next year. It's all business. It feels that that's the kind of environment that you've built.
Yeah, we had a crazy Christmas party a couple of days ago as well. So it was, good fun.
Fantastic. So I mentioned at the beginning of the piece, obviously multiple award winning. And one of those awards you've actually just completed a hat trick of, I believe. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. I mean, obviously, we've been eyeing this coveted awards every year. We've been going to these awards ever since 2012, 2013. Cyril's done a great job of running these events every single year and coming up bigger and better every year. So, really grateful. The one I won recently was for a HMO, House of Multiple Occupation, in Slough. It's a great
Junction
market.
6.
Junction 6, actually Junction 6 as well. But I almost didn't do the deal. And my colleague, Simon, I obviously like to give him some credit. He was like, why are you missing out on this deal? And I had too many deals on the go. So 2024 has been a massive learning curve where I think probably took on too much more than I thought I should have. And you're spreading yourself too thin, that's never a good thing. And I was like, but it was such a good deal. It came up at a really good price in the market where I bought it for 320 grand, which if you look at the Slough market, you're getting 2-bedroom flats. Berkeley Homes has built up a very good development there called Holix, converted the Holix factory into this beautiful, massive development of apartments and houses. And you're getting 2-bedroom flats at 375,000 there. So to get a semi-detached house, it was a quick deal. I managed to get investor funds, again, from the Titans community. There was a bit of a gap in the equity, so I got a bridge to overcome that gap. So with little or no money of my own, I think I probably put about 30 grand of my own funds in it in the end, because you do have to top it up with certain of your own funds. And spent 320 grand. Then I refurbished it. It was just a basic 6-bed HMO. So that was a category I won in for 6 or less rooms, and I went for really high spec in the end. All rooms are doubles with their own private en-suites. Even the single bedroom has its own en-suite, because I think that's really what people want. You've got to cater for the demand in the market. And Slough, having one of the largest trading estates in Europe, has a huge demand. 4 of my tenants are from the Wexham Park Hospital nearby, 4 nurses. Within 4 weeks we had all rented, £5,000 gross rent. In the end it got valued at 600,000, so I pulled out most of my money. There's a little bit of money left in the deal, but I'm making 60 grand net gross rent every single year. So by the end of the year I've pulled out all my money and it'd be a no money in deal.
And there forever.
Infinite returns, right? It's definitely one of my the highest rental HMOs. I mean, I tried out £1,000 for a room in Slough. It was one of my largest bedrooms in there with a lovely ensuite, and it went.
One thing I really liked about that whole story was how you you targeted, you knew that there would be some, high earning professionals who needed somewhere to live. So you catered for that market, but you still provide, and even though it's a HMO, that living space that they've got, that private living space, seems like it's really high quality.
I think I've gone away from, like, before all my HMOs used to have communal areas, massive living rooms. And what I've found with the ones that I currently still have, they use it as a dumping ground. They're either drying their clothes in there or they're using it for dumping ground. And I thought, you know what, use that, spend that money in their rooms, because they're spending the maximum time in their rooms. Yes, they sort of acquaintances, some of them become friends. I've even had couples from my HMOs. I've had 2 or 3 couples. People actually met there, strangers, fell in love and got married, and then obviously left a few years later through my HMOs as well. So you do have those amazing stories, but generally speaking, they're not kind of like mingling and having parties together and things like that. So their room is their sort of, a mecca, and that's where I sort of focused on giving them quality in terms of space, storage, ensuite, all of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the outside world, their only experiences of HMOs has ever been student houses. So that's how they think it's miles apart. We're seeing a lot of them at Roma at the moment, where the specifications that people are going to and that end spec, it is attracting people because the life revolves outside of the home, doesn't it? With the gym and the social network that people are in.
Yeah, I think I was very passionate about doing the quality stuff because, never ever touched on my story, but back home in Mumbai, we had a very modest lifestyle, humble beginnings, didn't even have a bedroom to my name. We were 6 of us living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm one of 4 siblings, and my parents, and I was passionate of having my own room firstly, and now, having built this amazing portfolio, I always feel every single day I need to count my blessings. I'm really grateful that if you asked me 20 years ago if I was, winning awards and doing all of this, I would have never ever thought that. So I think the fact that we've managed to do it, I think just got to count your blessings every single day.
It feels like every stage in your life that you've been through, just listening to your story, you've grasped the opportunities. So you came over to the UK. You said my degree wasn't transferable, so I got a degree. And then I got a job, and then I was in charge of 26 people, and then they wanted more from me, so then I did this. It's inspiring to listen to.
You've got to better yourself, right? You've got to just go for it. I think there are loads of books around it. I think I can't think of the name, but if you think too much and analyze too much, sometimes I think that holds you back as well. But I think that kind of balances me in my business with my husband, Romy, as my sort of business partner, life partner as well. But he's kind of more intellectual, more, very detailed and all that. And it kind of works well. So, I'm like, I'd buy everything. And he's like, calm down and, hold me back, which is a good thing.
Maybe not so much in 2024 by the sound of things.
Yeah.
So what do you see as the opportunities going forward?
I'd say for me personally, what I'm trying to do is maybe deleverage a little bit, ever so slightly, look at some of the properties that are not maybe cash flowing as well as they should be. It tends to be the block of apartments. So the HMOs, touch wood, they're all doing really well. They net between 1,500, 2,000 a month, depending on, when I bought them and all of that. And now, as conscious landlords, I think one thing, government doesn't remember. Back in the day, I would never ever increase my rent on an annual basis. I would just forget increasing my rent because things were ticking along quite nicely. But now, because of increased costs, every year I make sure I send those Section 13s out to all my tenants. Increase my rent ever so slightly every year because we need to. And now I think most landlords have become very, very conscious of that. And rents are going up every single year because you have to, right?
You've got to manage your margins.
Exactly.
If your costs are increasing, you have to look to way to pass that off.
So what I'm doing in the new year is cash flowing strategies. So I'm looking at interesting strategy where I'm partnering up with someone who's looking for land opportunities. I think that's a great one. And again, you're going with the tide. So one thing that Labour is actually doing for property developers is opening up the planning sort of department or planning rules, or it's making it easier to get planning, which has been very, very tough, up until now. So I think if you can go with the tide, so we're looking for land opportunities in the green, grey belt area, and potentially looking to build houses. So brand new houses, we get planning for that. So that's one strategy, which is slightly longer term strategy. But another one I think would be a really good one was commercial to HMO. So where I've done offices to residential apartments, I'd probably say maybe office buildings to HMOs. Again, cash flow would be great. And if you've got watertight systems in the back end and you make sure you're vetting your tenants properly, then, that's all you can do from your side, But I think those are the two strategies I'm focusing on. So commercial to HMOs and land. Because, there's a lot of abundance of vacant commercial properties still out there because people are still doing the hybrid working and there are, a good commercial stock out there to take and convert into good quality residential.
Good. And over the course of your last 15 years-ish journey through property, what's the biggest lesson? I know we talked about on the first one, was cash is king. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned, do you think?
I think the biggest lesson is to literally stay on top of property because what the opportunities that come about don't stay forever. A strategy that would be great one time, even for example, buy-to-lets are completely dead now with all the renters' rights bill. The yields have, especially in the southeast, yields there aren't really anything to talk about. Every strategy has a time period and it's time limited. So you need to grasp that opportunity when it comes and take the bull by its horn because that opportunity might not be there. If you sit here thinking, oh, buy-to-lets are going to be here forever and, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it whenever, and you're sort of kind of looking at all the negative things. Yes, you need to be aware of all the risks and mitigate some of those risks. But I think there's a very fine balance between over-analyzing and over-due diligence and making those decisions. So I think taking action is very, very important, I think.
I think taking action is almost your middle name by the sound of things as well. Manni, thanks very much for coming to speak to us today. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, the Roma team as well. Really appreciate it and really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.
And thanks everyone else for watching at home. Thank you. Goodbye.